What's up, Raptors fans? Welcome to the Warriors Report. It's time to talk about the Raptors and some draft news. The Raptors have interviewed two players in Dyson Daniels and Benedict Matranga. Now, I know I'm a few days late getting to this video, but why would the Raptors be interested in two players that are projected to go in the NBA draft lottery? Could Masai Ujiri have his eyes on a talent that maybe is yet to be discovered by the NBA like he did in the past drafts? Or is he seeing something in international talent that a lot of NBA scouts may not have seen? I will break that down in today's video. I'm going to go player by player, talk about some statistics, as well as take a deeper dive into these two individuals, as well as talk about whether the Raptors would actually consider blowing it up, or whether or not the Raptors are looking at these two particular players because they have interest in trading into the draft lottery. I will break all of that down for you in today's video. So if you want to hit the like button, that'd be very much appreciated. If you want to hit the subscribe button as well, that'd be awesome as well. I also just wanted to say, guys, my Instagram account has been hacked. So if you're getting messages from there, it is not me. Please do not invest in Bitcoin or whatever that account has been posting. I'll link my Instagram account below if you guys want to report it. That'd be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, as you know, I do like to give out shoutouts on my channel, and for today's video, the shoutout goes out to my Japanese friend whose name I cannot read. So thank you so much for supporting this channel through likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. Now let's talk about Dyson Daniels. Just kind of just to give you a little bit of a idea of what this player is. The statistics he's put up: he's listed at 6'6", 199 pounds. He's listed as a guard out of Australia. He played in the G League, average 11.3 points, 5.9 rebounds, and 4.4 assists. Now his shooting numbers aren't the greatest, as you see his 3-point percentage and his free throw percentage as well, but Dyson Daniels is a very interesting player. Now, a lot of sites have him listed his wingspan at 6'9", 6'10", and it fits into the Raptors, mold of having these tall, lengthy defenders as well. So I could see why the Raptors would interview international talent like Dyson Daniels. It's awesome to see some international talent, and it's kind of going with the flow of what Australia has been producing talent-wise in the recent years, of having tall guys that can defend and play multiple positions that are listed as guards, but they're much taller than their traditional NBA guards. So it's very interesting to note that he's out of Australia. Again, you're kind of seeing a trend in Australia with all of these tall guards that are coming out. So very interesting player in Dyson Daniels. I will break his game down in just a moment. But it is also important to talk about the Canadian kid. Yes, straight out of Montreal, Benedict Matranga, very interesting player as well. Now again, he's listed at 6'7", 195 pounds. A lot of other websites have him listed at 6'6", 205, 210 pounds. Very good size for the NBA. Now, you take a look at his statistics: 17.7 points, 5.6 rebounds, and 2.6 assists, as well as some really good shooting numbers. 36.9% from the three-point line, and his free throw percentage was decent, nothing spectacular. Now let's talk about Benedict Matranga and some of his strengths that he would bring to the Raptors if the Raptors were to draft him. Now, taking a look at some of his strengths, he is an amazing three-point shooter. He's got a high arcing three-point shot, which is just difficult to block, and he just really is a great player that moves off the ball as well. It really helps him he's become a really good three-point shooter, not only in catch and shoot threes, but he moves so well offensively without the ball. He makes some great cuts. He's obviously rotating around screen, trying to get himself just free from his defender. And I'm not comparing him to this player, but think of a Rip Hamilton and how easily he would be able to get off his defender, just continuously running around on offense. That is Benedict Matranga. He's also great in transition as well. You'll notice that he is able to get those layups. He is a very athletic player, which allows him to just soar in for some really big dunks. And he also has some really good speed for someone his size. Again, listed at 6'6", 6'7". He's got a great transition game. He fit in with the Raptors really nicely. He's got that speed and where he just bursts towards the rim and either goes in for the nice dunk or he'll go up for those nice layups as well. And this is really hard to defend him because he has some really amazing hops, and he does have a potential to become a really good passer as well. And he's made some really good passes in college as well. He'll make the right pass. He'll find his teammates under the basket. And you'll notice he makes some good passes, and I wouldn't compare him to a great passer. I mean, he's obviously not any Scottie Barnes type of passing. He's not going to give you no-look passes, but he's also a really good passer in the sense that he has that capability of becoming a good secondary passer. He has some real great tools that'll make him a great NBA player, but it's also important to highlight some of his weaknesses as well. Now, when we talk about his weaknesses, he looks very lazy on defense. Now, is that to suggest that he is not a good defender? Not at all. I think he's a solid defender. he just lacks the focus. You'll notice when you take a look at some of his highlights, he just looks like he's not focused on defense, and he just looks like he's not giving in that effort. Now, obviously, we know Nick Nurse's system. You have to absolutely play defense. So I don't think it's not so much that he's not a great defender. I just think he saves a lot of his energy for his offense and doesn't really put in a lot of effort on defense. Now, he also gives up too many offensive rebounds as well. He's not great at boxing out guys, and given his size, he has the tools to become a good rebounder. I think he really, again, it's one of those things with young players that you really need to emphasize on some of these little things. And I think, again, if he were to be drafted by the Raptors, it would obviously be awesome having him and his shooting. And of course, Nick Nurse is definitely going to fix him up in terms of his effort on the defensive end as well. Now, let's talk about Dyson Daniels and some of his strengths. Now, Dyson Daniel, when you take a look at some of his strengths, it's hard not to realize why the Raptors would want to interview him. He is a very smart defender. As I highlighted, he's listed at 6'6". He's got a wingspan of about 6'10", 6'11", depending on which website you look at. He can guard multiple positions. He's also a really good facilitator as well, given his size. As I talked about, Australia has been producing some really good players in terms of having these tall guys that can play the guard position. He's a great defender. He can pass as well. Again, I wouldn't say he's an amazing passer, but he makes the right passes and he makes the simple passes, which is what you want to see from young players. You don't want them to overdo it, and he does just that. He's also a really good player in transition as well, much like Benedict as well, and that is why I think the Raptors would love him. We know the Raptors love to play that transition game, and he's got the size and speed to really just run up. Now, he does have a really nice floater as well, which is something the Raptors really lack. When you talk about Fred VanVleet, when you talk about some of the players, they don't really have that floater, and I think getting someone like Dyson would really ensure that you have that one player that can just get his points off of floaters. He's also great in pick and roll as well. His defense is elite. He's a great defender, great at getting steals as well. Again, you take a look at some of his strengths, you could checkmark almost everything the Raptors look for in a young player, and obviously particularly in the draft as well. So he's obviously great at pick and roll defense. He's great at getting steals, and he's already a good transition. He's a great player in transition, I would say. So it fits in perfectly what the Raptors would do. Now, obviously, he does have a lot of weaknesses as well, which we have to highlight. And that is that he is not a good three-point shooter. For as great as a defender he is, he can pass as well, but he cannot shoot at all. Not a great three-point shooter. He doesn't really have a jump shot either. And he's not an explosive athlete like Benedict. Now, the thing with Dyson is he can get to the rim, but he's not an explosive athlete and he doesn't dunk much. So oftentimes what happens is he's not the most physical player either. So he has a difficult time scoring. As you see there, he can't really score all that well. So he's very much in the sense your typical tall, point guard who is great at facilitating, great defender, not really great at getting his own points. That's what I'm kind of trying to say here with Dyson Daniels. He highlights a lot of the things the Raptors look for, but he also highlights some of the things the Raptors are really in desperate need of when we talk about shooting, offensive production. Again, I'm not saying I wouldn't draft Dyson Daniels, but it's also some of the weaknesses we're already seeing with some of the guys. Now, obviously, I'm not comparing him to a Delano Banton, but those are similar things you see with Delano Banton as well, right? He's got that ability to attack the basketball. He's not an explosive athlete. He can't really shoot. So just some of the things you see in Dyson Daniels, you'll see in Delano Banton. Again, no way, shape, or form am I comparing the two players. Obviously, their skill sets are very different. But just to give you an idea of a type of player, if I were to give you an idea of a tall point guard who can really pass and who's, really lacking that shooting as well. So, all right, guys. So now to talk about the big thing. Could the Raptors be eyeing a big trade after meeting top prospects? Now, again, as I highlighted, they don't have a first-round pick. And this was an article released by Mike Luciano on the Raptors' rupture, saying that they only have a 33rd overall pick. So why would the Raptors be looking at some of those players? Could they look for a big trade and possibly suggesting some of the names we've been hearing from fans and Fred VanVleet, given that his contract is coming up after next season? And maybe the Raptors look to go with this, tall switchable defenders, and which Dyson Daniels would be perfect in, or maybe even if they somehow manage to get into the top 10 draft and select someone like Benedict Matranga, would that be someone the Raptors would definitely consider? I mean, he is a Canadian as well, which is a bonus. Now, I will say this, guys. Honestly speaking, I think it's silly to suggest that the Raptors would ever trade someone like Fred VanVleet. I know his contract is coming up. Some of the other names I'm hearing as well from fans is Gary Trent Jr. because his contract expiring, and of course, OG Anunoby for his injuries as well. But I do want to rebut the idea of trading Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam as well. It doesn't make a lot of sense to trade some of these guys because you have something nice going on here. I know people are suggesting the notion that you can build around Scottie Barnes, but even when you select some of these guys, they're not guaranteed to turn out into good players. They're not going to be giving you 20 points per game right away. I mean, unless you get a steal in the draft, and obviously the Raptors have been able to do that. And I'm not questioning Masai Ujiri in the sense that he has a good draft history and he can develop a lot of guys, as we saw with Pascal, as we saw with Scottie Barnes, right? When we talk about non-shooters becoming decent or good shooters at the NBA level. But I just think it makes no sense. The Raptors have a good core of young players, a mix of veterans. Again, Fred VanVleet, Pascal are 28 years old, and they have some really nice young talent, nice young developing talent. OG Anunoby's been there for a while. You got Gary Trent Jr., you got Precious Achiuwa, you got Scottie Barnes as well. So I think they have a good mix of group of guys that are just starting to develop their game a lot, and also two veterans that can kind of lead you in. And again, I said this in my last video as well, but the NBA is very different from now to 10 years and 15 years ago. Oftentimes, you would see guys peaking at 28, 29, 30 and seeing them decline a lot. You're seeing not so much of that lately. I mean, DeMar DeRozan is a great example. He's 32 years old, I believe, and he still had one of his best seasons ever. So I think having these guys around for quite a while, it would be good for the Raptors. You surround Scottie Barnes with good talent. I think it's the silly notion that rebuilding makes no sense. Again, even if you select a good player, it will take anywhere from 2 to 5 years to really develop that player as well. And of course, there's always that probability of how they're going to perform in the playoffs. And I just think it's silly for the Raptors to ever consider a rebuild. They have a nice core, and I think they should just continue to build on what they have right now. But I do want to hear from you guys. What do you think of these rumors? Do you think the Raptors actually want to trade into the draft lottery? I mean, most of those guys, those two guys I highlighted in today's video, they're projected to go top 10. Benedict Matranga is projected to go in the top 10, top 12, 13, whereas Dyson Daniels is kind of different. A lot of mock drafts have him going at 13, 14, 15, where some even have him dropping to 19. But I do want to see the Raptors possibly, again, with Dyson more so less than Benedict, but stocks rise and fall a lot, right? So maybe the Raptors aren't necessarily looking to draft into the lottery. Maybe Dyson Daniels falls to, let's say, 26, 27, and maybe the Raptors move up a few spots. Who knows? Again, it'll be a fun draft, and you'll get more draft videos on the Warriors Report coming up more and more as we progress closer to the NBA draft. So make sure to stay tuned into this channel. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button as well, guys. But I do want to hear your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, guys, I do have a trivia question for you today. And that trivia question is an amazing one because I don't think a lot of people will get this right. Which of these Raptors players listed below has the wrong middle name? Again, the wrong middle name. Is it A, Fred Edmund VanVleet? Is it B, Scottie Wayne Barnes? Is it C, Gary DeJohn Trent Jr.? Is it D, Precious Achiuwa? Is it E, Kem Xavier Birch? Is it F, David Ricardo Johnson? Is it G, Justin John Champagny? Or is it H, Delano Danny Banton? Again, I added some extra options. I wanted to make this fun, guys, but I do want to hear from you guys. Which one of these names is the incorrect one? Whoever answers this trivia question incorrectly, I should say, not incorrectly, whoever answers this trivia question correctly gets the shout out in my next video. So that will be it for today's video, guys. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.